We've all seen the cockroaches on social media. They're all over the place and it's gone viral. But the question to ask is it just a viral meme where people are letting off some steam? Or is this the beginning of a political change? Is it indicative of unhappiness among India's youth? Should mainstream politicians who are running the country and who are in opposition pay attention to the cockroaches on social media? Do they have the ability right now to change the country? Now, the reason why I'm asking this question, to give you some context, is because movements that have started on social media have changed politics across the world. There is a rapper now in charge in Nepal. In Bangladesh, a youth movement toppled a government. In New York, the mayor was voted in completely on social media, on reels and on memes, and that was a sort of a flat communication of that message. And we've done a separate video in India for Vijay in Tamil Nadu, who also ran a similar campaign. So is this something we need to be paying closer attention to? What is the cockroach movement and can it change India? That's a question we're going to attempt to ask and answer in this video. Remember, before we start, like, share, please subscribe to our channel. And if you sign up for our membership on the lowest tier, you will get access to a daily news bulletin that will actually give you all of the news that's relevant to you in 10 minutes flat without any drama, in the calmest way possible. That's our offering to you. Okay, let's get started. We're going to take a look at where this cockroach remark came from. It started when the Chief Justice of India made an oral observation during a hearing in Supreme Court. Now, what was the case? A lot of people have not discussed what the case was. The Supreme Court was hearing a lawyer's petition, and his petition was that the Delhi High Court had not designated him a senior advocate yet. Now, while hearing that case, the bench actually made a remark saying that there were elements in society that were working like parasites to weaken the system. And the bench asked this young lawyer if he wanted to join that club. So the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, and Justice Bagchi were the two lawyers on the bench, and they said, and I quote, "There are already parasites in society who attack the system. You want to join hands with them? These are youngsters. They're like cockroaches who don't have any employment, so they don't have any place in profession." They said these youngsters become media, social media, RTI activists, some other kinds of activists, and they start attacking everyone. And the lawyer then proceeded to ask the bench to allow him to withdraw the plea, and the bench granted his request. Now, there was a reaction immediately that it seemed like the Supreme Court of India was effectively saying that RTI activists, media, social media, these people are all nuisances and they're not welcome. But whereas these are all democratic ways of registering dissent. So what is the Supreme Court actually saying to us? The Chief Justice of India clarified within 24 hours that what he was saying specifically was referring to people who are entering professions on fake or bogus degrees and not all of India's youth. He said he was pained on how a section of the media misquoted his observations during a frivolous case. He said, "I specifically criticize those who are entering professions with the aid of fake or bogus degrees. And similarly, people have sneaked into media, social media, other noble professions. They are like parasites. Not only am I proud of our present and future human resource, the youth of India inspires me," he said. But by that point, the damage had already been done and the internet had done what the internet does. There was a huge reaction among India's youth. One person, Abhijit Dipke, posted on X immediately. He said, "What if all the cockroaches come together?" And to follow up his joke, he created a website and social media accounts for a Cockroach Janta party, which is obviously a play on the Bharatiya Janata Party or the BJP. And the Cockroach Janata Party, in less than a week, became extremely popular. The account crossed, as of today, 20.6 million followers on Instagram. For context, in comparison, the BJP has 9 million followers. The BJP is the biggest political party in the world. Now, before we go further, I must point out that the Cockroach Party is not an official registered party, which means it has no party symbol, booth worker structure, it can't contest elections. So they're not asking if this is a formal political revolution, but what we are asking is if this is the beginning of some sort of change. We must take a look at who Abhijit Dipke is. Now, This is what has been uncovered. In the 2020 Delhi Assembly elections, which was won by Aam Aadmi Party and Arvind Kejriwal, he worked on a meme-based digital campaign that shaped the party's political online and youth engagement. He also volunteered with the Aam Aadmi Party's social media team. He studied apparently journalism in Pune for his undergraduate degree, and now he is in the US in Boston University studying public relations, and apparently he's just graduated. According to his, Cockroach Party website, the aim is to build a party for young people who get called lazy chronically online, and most recently cockroaches. That's it. That's the mission. The rest is satire. So should we take it at that much, that the rest is satire? And they're just sort of pointing out that this is what they want to do. We could have left it at that if the government hadn't taken down their account. So this is what has happened now. On X, the official Cockroach Janta Party account has been suspended or withheld or taken down. Basically now, if you go to the page, it says account withheld in response to legal demand. So the rules on Twitter or X say basically that if the platform receives a valid and properly scoped request from an authorized entity, it is necessary for them to withhold access to a certain account in a particular country from time to time. So according to the Indian Express, the action was taken by the Intelligence Bureau that raised national security concerns about the Cockroach Party. The Indian Express is quoting a government official from the Ministry of Information Technology that basically said, the Intelligence Bureau said that this party leads to concerns of the sovereignty of India. And there's Section 69A of the IT Act that empowers central government to block access to online accounts if they threaten the sovereignty of India. The government has now given itself the power to take down content, to withhold social media handles if it feels that it threatens India in any way. But that threatening is a very broad description of what it might feel threatened about. Congress MP Shashi Tharoor has basically said that these are youth frustrations, and it's deeply unwise to actually block this. He said it is disastrous and deeply unwise. There should be an outlet for the youth to express their feelings. So the Cockroach Janta Party account function, instead of shutting it down, you should allow dissent and humor and satire and even frustration. During an interview with one news organization, the founder, Dipke, had actually said that he wants to be able to come back to India next month, but going by the pattern, he is worried that if he lands in Delhi airport, he will be taken by Delhi police straight to Tihar. So he's living overseas right now, but he's aware of the fact that the establishment might not be happy with him. But that is where it is right now. So the Cockroach Party has gotten the fancy of young people. There are those who are cleaning the Yamuna who are now wearing cockroach masks and cockroach sort of antenna and saying, we're actually making some change. There are a couple of videos that are doing the rounds of people getting frustrated with holdups in traffic because of VIP movement, who are now saying that, as cockroaches, we protest this as well. The cockroaches, the official cockroach handle and the founder, Dipke, have asked or demanded for Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, the education minister, based on the NEET leak and controversy. So this is everything that has happened with that movement right now. But what I want to ask is, what is really going on? Let's actually scrape past, the jokes and look at what is really going on. Why has a movement like this struck a nerve with the young people of this country? Because if we look at it, and if you look at the news that we have brought to you in the last, say, couple of months, there's a lot of information about distress in the market. And for those of us who are now past 40, we should stop for a second and consider how different the world is today from when we started our careers. And we were starting off in our 20s and our 30s. To begin with, let's take a look at the jobs data in India. Right now, I'm going to give you reasons why I believe that young people in India are frustrated. The jobs data, if we look at the National Statistics Office, so this is from the Ministry of Statistics, Government of India. The overall unemployment rate has been about 5.1% for the last 1 year. And so that seems fine. 5% is not so bad. Personally, and also a lot of experts will tell you that the data on unemployment in India is not great. It's not thorough, doesn't get updated often, and there's reason to believe that it's not entirely trustworthy. But even within that data, if you look closely at the numbers, rural employment is 4.6, urban unemployment is 6.6 to 6.8. So obviously in urban areas the unemployment is higher. Labor force participation has actually declined in the last couple of months. It also reflects a softening of the workforce, which means people are losing their jobs. But the real data that I want to bring you is what's happening to our graduates. People who are going to college, paying money to go to college, graduating from college and not getting graduate quality jobs. We've seen a lot of this data where basically there's some, police constable jobs, and lakhs of people show up with it for it, and they're all graduates. And they want constable jobs and they want peon jobs because there are no jobs for them. But what I want to show you is this. The PLFS 23-24 unemployment number was 3.2. Data for India's graduate unemployment was 13%. Azim Premji University's State of Working India 2026 says that among young graduates, 40% are unemployed in the 15 to 25 category. 20% are unemployed specifically from the 25 to 29 category. So the bigger problem shows that people who are graduates, nearly 60% are actually self-employed, nearly 20% are casual laborers, which means only 21% have actually salaried jobs. So you do have jobs, but they are low security, low benefit, low pay work. On salaries, the evidence is really distressing. It's ugly, really. For engineering graduates, one report has pointed out that salaries have gone up starting salaries have gone up 15% in the last 5 years, whereas at the same time, inflation went up 31%. So actually, they're making less money now than they did about 5 years ago. For the IT sector, it's even worse. Entry-level salaries have been in the 3 to 4 lakh rupees per annum for the last 10 years. And inflation from 2014 to 2024 has been 70%, which means that they are making less now than they did 10 years ago. So India has not failed to educate our youth. What we have failed to do is to create decent, stable, well-paid, respectful jobs for young people who are out there working right now and not making enough or not making more than their counterparts 10 years ago, expected to pay higher rents, expected to pay higher electricity, expected to pay higher for petrol, which is nearly double now than it was, say, 10 years ago. But salaries have actually shrunk. But the real trigger is also how the exam system has collapsed and the way the government has reacted to it, which has not been great. The latest controversy is obviously the NEET undergraduate 2026 conducted on May 3rd. 22 lakh candidates took this exam, this extremely distressing exam, which is very hard to take. And obviously, you know what happened. Because of the coaching classes, the exam papers, the questions leaked out, and they have to all take the exam again. Now, the government has sort of dismissed it, saying we won't collect fees from you, just do the exam again. But it's not as simple. People tend to travel, to take the examination. They have to take chunks out of that time out to take that examination. Just say you're just going to have to do it again. It's almost as if you don't take their effort seriously. And it feels like that anger has not been addressed adequately by the government and by the education ministry. And a lot of Indian families have a lot of anger about this system. The competitive entrance examination system is a really hard system in India. The competition is ridiculous. It is unacceptable, that competition. But it's also the only ladder out of middle class or lower middle class poverty for a lot of Indian families. And that ladder is broken, let's be honest. According to a report in 2024, 70 exam papers leaked across 15 states in 7 years, affecting 1.7 crore aspirants. And I have a problem personally also with this language of leaking. Papers don't leak, taps leak. Papers are stolen. because the coaching system in India is so competitive and there's so much money involved that people pay upwards of 10 lakh or 20 lakh rupees for answers and questions from an exam that's coming in. So the NEET, the undergraduate NEET, the UP police recruitment, state PSC examinations, entire futures have been disrupted, and the NEET controversy has sort of become a flashpoint for young people across the country. Even people who are not taking that particular exam are just like, dude, what the hell, man? This is just really frustrating. There's a mental health collapse among this age group. The National Crimes Records Bureau shows that student suicides have risen 65% in the last decade. There were 8,400 young people who died by suicide in 2013. It's gone up to 13,900 young people in 2023. I mean, this is again for me a really distressing point to discuss, that somehow in India we have reached a point where we lose young lives to tests. And so we've managed to create a system that makes these young people believe that their entire lives are based on one examination. It's a completely ridiculous, irresponsible prospect. But somehow we continue to do this. Mental health experts say academic pressure, unemployment fears, family expectations, and financial stress actually leads to this sort of suicide. And I want to give you perspective. Let's assume people who have not been touched by this sort of examination stress, they've got their graduation degree, they're working in our cities. People so effectively between the ages of 23 and say 30. What's happening with them? What is the quality of life in Indian cities right now? Traffic. An hour and a half, 2 hours spent on the road just getting home and getting to work. You don't have enough money to be able to rent a nice place to live, so you're living in not a great apartment. Cities are poorly managed, which means that water is polluted, air is polluted. You don't have enough time left at the end of the day to look after your health. There are no parks, there are no public places, there are no spaces that you can go and just relax. There's not enough time left at the end of the day to just be yourself. It's leading to substance abuse, it's leading to sleep issues, it's leading to health issues. Plus, on top of that, let's talk about pessimistic job loss, AI taking jobs, companies that are actually doing well across sectors, whether that is in animation or banking or tech or any of these sectors, media, where people are losing their jobs to AI, where companies are making money and firing people simply because they can. On top of that, there is a complete lack of faith in the redressal systems of the establishment. If you talk to young people today, you'll realize that they have no faith in the courts. They have no faith in the police. They have no faith in politicians. They have no faith in bureaucrats. They have no faith in the corporates that they work for, that these people are on their side. So and I'm not arguing as to whether they are right in thinking this. I'm saying that there is a sense of hopelessness. There is a sense of dropping their shoulders. And this movement, the cockroach movement, seems to have given them an outlet to register their unhappiness in a way that doesn't drastically endanger their jobs or their lives. So the next question to ask are 20 million people actually unhappy in this country? On the face of it, it would appear so. In one interview, the founder said that most of these 20 million people are in India. So this is not coming from overseas. These are not NRIs who are clicking, or they might not entirely be NRIs. We don't have access to that data, but let's assume 20 million people are actually unhappy. Will this translate to real political change on the ground? This is first and foremost completely different from all the other opinion polls we've seen in the country so far. Opinion polls normally have much smaller sample sizes, and they've largely shown a positive view for the government that is in power. This would show us a contrary view if we were to take it at face value. So is it separate from the reality that we're seeing? Yes. Is it a conventional political movement? No, not yet, because Instagram followers don't really win elections, so they don't lose elections for you. India's electoral politics is about money, it's about organizational warfare, it's about structure. These political parties have cadre, they have workers, there's money that actually gets funded. Even the Aam Aadmi Party victory that turned anger into votes had a structure in place. They had to form a party, they had to campaign, they had to go bite-size from Delhi onwards to other states, and we've seen that feeling has not survived. If we look at Vijay's TVK, which has just won in Tamil Nadu, I think Vijay had an enormous pre-existing fan network that was already structured, and he turned that fan network into his party workers. And while they did exist online, there was a structure that already existed. So can this meme page become a politically relevant movement? That's the question to ask. Now, in my opinion, so at this point, up till now, we were talking about data. Now I want to talk a little more about opinion, because at this point we have to rely on opinion going forward. Now, we don't know if the Cockroach Janata Party is going to register itself into an official political party for whatever reason. We don't have evidence for it, but we don't have evidence against it right now. But I do want to look at it as a symbol of unhappiness, of young people who are saying, we're being ignored, our issues are not being addressed, we're being mocked and we're being called lazy a lot. The system has failed us, mainstream politics has failed us, and the anger, eventually seeks structure. It seeks a route to come out, and this may be that route. Now, if the state continues to crush it and take down handles and, sort of decide that this is dangerous and we want to shut it down, it might actually bubble up into something larger. But can this movement turn into something like Bangladesh or Nepal? The short answer at this point would be no, because that comparison is frankly seems quite lazy. India's democracy is structurally different from these two countries. Our electoral system is much larger, it has more depth. The political competition already exists. There are various other outlets for that pain to actually come out. So it does seem right now that saying that this is going to turn into a Bangladesh kind of movement perhaps is not accurate. The same would be for Nepal. Fundamentally, this is where I think we are. Young Indians broadly still believe in the democracy. They still vote. And every time there is an election, we see strong turnout and we see young people coming to the polls and actually voting, which means they believe in the democracy. Their faith in the institutions that are meant to protect them and protect the democracy might be strained. While they vote, they engage politically, they express themselves, there's skepticism on whether the system is actually looking after them at all. Does the system care about them at all? So that unemployment, the stagnant salaries, the rising costs, the poor management of our cities. We were talking yesterday about the money that governments have spent over the last 5 to 6 years since COVID, building these gorgeous roads that should make us feel good, but they don't make us feel good because the trains are still crowded, the buses are still crowded, traffic has not been solved in our cities. So they're spending all of this money, but you're not seeing it change your everyday life. You're not seeing the economy improve. You're not seeing jobs improve. We're not actually living in the Viksit Bharat that we hoped would actually be an outcome at this point. And in comparison to at least where I was when I started my career 24 years ago, we were bathed in optimism. I still believe that if I work hard and if I put in the hours with single-minded determination, I can achieve anything. I can be any level of success. Nothing can stand in my way. There are only two sort of, variables. I have to work really hard and I have to do a good job. And in my opinion, those are the ingredients for success, because that was the India that I was raised in. When I started my career, my seniors and my bosses told me, work hard and we will double your salary. Work hard and we'll give you a promotion. And that was the world we lived in. The early 2000s, that was the world we lived in. But if you look at the world that they live in right now, there is COVID, there is mismanagement, there are no jobs. When you get a job, there is no hike in your salary. There's gross mismanagement of their futures to a point where they don't have that kind of optimism. There's climate change. There is a sense that nobody really cares about the future. And if I were a 20-year-old right now, I would not be able to feel the same optimism that we felt, say, 25 years ago. And I think that is a real thing. And it might not be specific to India. It might be for, countries across the world. But at least in India, if we're talking about India right now, I think it's important to note and to address the fact we have an entire section of our population that does not enjoy the joy and ambition of working hard in India. They're not seeing the fruits of that labor because it's not just two ingredients. It's not working hard and doing a good job. There's also AI. There's also COVID. There's also climate change. There is also corruption. There's also the fact that it's really hard to live in our cities. These things are all coming in the way of that success. And we have to, as the grown-ups in our country, find ways to address. We have to find ways to mitigate. And the politicians of our country will have to sit up and pay attention. Crushing those voices is going to make it worse. And we've seen evidence all across the world that every time these voices have been crushed, they come back stronger. Because here's the thing. You cannot do a lathi charge on an Instagram handle. Because if you shut it down, as Twitter has shown you, they'll start another one. Because this generation, the current 20-year-olds, were raised on social media. We had to learn it, we had to adopt it. They were raised on social media. They know how to do this. This is how they show their unhappiness. This is how they participate. This is how they dissent. So if you crush it, they will start it up somewhere else. Yes, of course. Are they going to translate into an on-ground, action in some way? Because as soon as you go on ground, you provide the establishment with a leader, a tall poppy to sort of remove from the structure. Ask Sonam Wangchuk what happened to him. So we don't know if this is going to translate in any way to an on-ground action. We do know, of course, that they have now called for Dharmendra Pradhan's resignation, like I told you. And that might be one of the ways that they turn out. So if I were to look at the Cockroach Janata Party and see how it would turn out, I would give you 5 possible outcomes. 1, it remains a meme and it fizzles out after a point because there is no organization, there's no leadership, there are no local chapters, there's no funding. Someone will have to actively sit and manage it. Whether or not Dipke can do it himself or other people are going to help him out, that is one, that's one possible outcome. The second outcome, and this I see as very possible, it turns into a youth grievance platform. So for example, jobs, exam leaks, recruitment delays, education reform, censorship, the media tends to pick these things up and sort of move on to the next thing. But there needs to be someone who pays closer attention. So the fact that they have now demanded the resignation of the education minister is a sort of redressal mechanism that this party could turn into. The third, the opposition parties absorb it into themselves. So whether that's the Congress or the Aam Aadmi Party or regional parties, whoever is strong enough to do so, starts to borrow the language, the iconography, these cockroach, and make it part of themselves. Whether or not Dipke and the rest of them will allow that to happen is another thing to watch. 4, this is the dangerous one, the state overreacts and crushes it and accidentally radicalizes it. That I believe, blocking, legal notices, censorship, intimidation, then everybody will turn into a Dipke. And you'll suddenly have 20 million people who will start 20 million accounts and you will not be able to stop it. So it'll be interesting to see whether that is the route that the government or the establishment actually takes. And 5, it becomes a prototype for digital youth politics. And right now, all of the political parties that we have, including the Aam Aadmi Party, are built for television. So they have hierarchies, they are centralized, their message is controlled. But Gen Z is a more flat horizontal communication as a generation. Memes, influencers, peer networks, irony, anger, that sort of thing. So will this become a new way of communication for Indian politics, and will it actually shake the old politics? That's another possibility that could happen, or the 5th possibility that could happen. The cockroach movement itself might turn into other things. Tomorrow it might be a beetle, the day after that it might turn into a mosquito if we have a malaria outbreak. But this is a new way to communicate your dissent to the establishment. For me, the interesting part here is whether or not the establishment listens to the dissent or decides to crush it. Let me know what you think the Cockroach Party is going to turn into. Do you think it's an interesting movement, outcome? Do you think it could turn political?